All right, recording started. Welcome to encounter 27/28. We're trying to cover two chapters today. Basically, chapters 27 and 28 stretch out a million instances of way too much information regarding them. So basically, this week in preparation for this class, I looked at a lot of different forms, and I'm surprised at how much don't exist that the book lets on that they do exist. So we'll just we'll cover.
Here's something for you, Jason. It does not occur in the Nifal at all.
I know it doesn't occur in the Nifal. I spent time looking at it. So we're going to look at the forms today of all the forms of kum and the forms of sim in the perfect and imperfect in all of the binyanim. And I think we're going to be surprised because the book gives all this information as if all these forms exist, and they really don't. So generalizations about II-Vav and II-Yod verbs. Ein is the second letter in the Ha'al thing, so this is a second Vav and second Yod. We've come across kum, the kuf vav mem, infinitive lakum, to arise. We've come across this word a lot in our readings, mostly in the Vav consecutive forms, like vayakom, and he arose, in Jonah and everywhere else, and vatakom, and she arose, especially in Ruth, because they have a lot of feminine forms in the book of Ruth. Vayakom, vatakom. So words that have a Vav or Yod as their middle root letter are called middle weak, or hollow verbs. Hollow verb because it's hollow in the middle. We generally see these internal vowels change in the verbs, various forms, the forms that the verb takes. So in the following, we'll look quickly at the various forms of the hollow verbs in the different binyanim. Specifically, we're going to look at kum, arise, and lakim, litkayem, all of the binyanim with this root, and the different roots that we find sim to put. So first we're going to look at kum. This is going to surprise you. Kum actually it appears in most of the binyanim, even the rarer stems that we talked about before. So the first one we see is to arise. This is the perfect. I arose, kamti. You arose, kamta. Kamt, kam, kama, kamnu, kamtem, kamten, kamu. You could see that the root itself has a vav. Okay, it's kuf vav mem. In all of the perfect forms, the vav disappears. Instead, we have an a vowel. Kamti, not kumti, but kamti. Kamta, kamt, kam, kama, kamnu. We arose. We got up. Kamnu. Okay, so that's how it works in with the hollow verbs. They just drop the middle letter, the vav or yod, if the yod is if the root has a yod, and instead it says with a. So sim, samti. Okay, sim is to put, samti I put. Lalin, to stay somewhere, lanti, I stayed, I slept somewhere, lanti. Lashir, to sing, lashir, sharti, I sang. Sharti, sharta, shart, shar, shara, sharnu, shartem, sharten, sharu. That's shin, yod, resh. That's pretty easy, right? That the middle vowel just drops out and becomes a. Pretty easy? I think so. The second binyan that we see it appearing in is the PL. With the PL, the vav in the middle, actually, it functions like a yod and it's doubled. It acts like a consonant. So kum becomes kiyam or kiyem. Kiyam is what we see in the Bible, kiyam, but in modern Hebrew we say kiyem with a tsere, just like every PL. Just like you have shilem, he paid, but in the Bible you most normally see shilam, he paid. You remember that from the PL? No. Well, normally the PL is pial. It's got an A in the second syllable. It happens a lot. So we would expect berech, he blessed, but we get berach. Berach, he blessed. Anyway, the point is that it becomes in the PL as if there were a Yod in the middle. Kiyamti, I fulfilled. Like if I made a promise and I fulfilled my promise, kiyamti, I made it stand. Like lakum is to stand up, to arise, and kiyamti is I made it stand. Okay, I fulfilled my promise or my obligation. Kiyamta, kiyamt, kiyam, kiyama, kiyamnu, kiyamtem, kiyamten, and kiyamu. There's a problem here with the vowels. It's supposed to be segol, segol, and there should be shva here. Not sure what happened. I think I was copying and pasting and didn't notice that. So if we have the PL, normally we have the pual. That's the passive of the PL. So we've got kuyam. This is we're not normally going to have I was fulfilled and you were fulfilled. This isn't really going to happen. Just kuyam, kuyamma, and kuyamu. These are basically the only forms that are really going to happen. To establish, this is hifil. The hifil does something funny in the hollow verbs. For some reason, they make longer forms. We got rid of these in modern Hebrew, and everything comes off of this. Hakim means he established. It's the hay of the hifil with the kum becomes kim. Hakim. He established. Hekima. Hekimu. So we say hekam, hekamti, hekamnu, hekamta, hekamt, but in the Bible you'll see hakimoti, and this really you do see this hakimoti. Like I have established my covenant, or I have established, I've established my covenant with the world that I won't flood the world anymore. Hakimoti. It's hakim with this longer oti. I'm not sure where the oti comes from, but that's it does happen. Okay, so we have the kum, kiyem, hakim, kuyam, and the passive of the hakim is hukamti, hukam, hukamta, hukamt, hukma, hukamnu. The huk, that's the hifil, the hufal. We've got hifil and hufal, so to establish and to be established. So far we have 5 out of the 7 normal roots, and the 6th of the 7 that we do have is hitpael. Just like the PL becomes kiyam or kiyem, here it's hitkayem, that Yod comes in. So basically the ones that have a doubled middle radical, in order to double something in the hollow verbs, they're going to add a Yod. Okay, and that's what doubles. So kiyam, kuyam, hitkayem. So hitkayem means to take place. Also, this will only be in the third person. You're not going to say hitkayamti, I took place, right? But hitkayem, hitkayma, hitkayemu, those are the only forms that are going to take place or occur. All right, and this verb, kum, appears also in 3 additional roots or stems. So it's going to be in the polal, the polel, polal, and it polel. It's not so important to know this. Basically, you can look in the dictionary. When you look in the dictionary, you look for kum. It's going to tell you that it's in the kal, piel, pual, hifil, hufal, hitpael, polel, polal, and it polel. It tells you that it appears in them. You don't need to memorize all of these things. When you come across words in reading, you can look at it and say, oh, komamti, it looks like kum. And so you look for kum, or you could look for kuf mem mem, and probably it will refer you. It'll tell you, oh, kuf mem mem, you're probably thinking of kum mem, look for kum, and it'll send you there, and then you see the meaning of the root. Okay. especially in the beginning, you just use a dictionary. You don't need to memorize all the words. I know that's a problematic thing to say, but it's really true. Okay, so we have kum. That's all the forms in the perfect. It occurs in the exact same binyanim in the imperfect, in the future. Okay, so kum is akum, yakum, takum. In the future, it has the full root. Okay, the PL again has the doubled. So yekayem, akayem. Okay, the pual has the same doubled yud. Yekuyam, it will be fulfilled. The hitpael, yitkayem, it will take place. Titkayem. Hamesibat titkayem b'yom shishi, the party will take place on Friday. Titkayem. Okay. Once you get into this root with the kiyem and whatever, in Mishnaic Hebrew and in modern Hebrew, we also use it for exist. So kayam means existing. The hifil becomes yakim. Okay, like yashlim, he will complete. Yashlim, yakim, takim, akim. The hufal, yukam, tukam, ukam, tukmi, and so on. And again, these are just the passive of what we already saw. Okay, to restore, to be restored, to be restored. All right, this is good news of the root sim, to put. It occurs in two stems, in the kal and in the hifil. The hifil is actually passive. The hifil, it's hufal, it's passive of the kal. That's kind of odd, because there is no nifal, because it's middle weak, hollow. Hollow verbs do not like to use nifal. So in this case, the hufal is used for the passive to say was put. So samti, I put, husam, he put, samnu, we put, okay? But to say something was put in place, or Adam was put in the garden, husam, he was placed, husam. Okay? The imperfect, asim, I will put, yasim, you will put. This is the root, sim, just with the tense preformative. Asim, tasim, yasim, and so on. The hufal is exactly the same. It's the future. Yusam, tusam, usam, tusmi, tusam, nusam, and such on. It's a lot of information. Not much we can do with it. It's just tables of verbs. That kind of stuff, you just have to look at it and say, kind of figure out what's going on and say, okay, might kind of see what's going on, and just move on. And then when you run into it when you're reading, just be able to say, okay, I remember something weird. All right, I'll look it up in a dictionary. And that's what you do. Look it up in a dictionary until you feel it. So we're going to look at the forms of kum and put it to the test of parsing. So we're going to look at each one and try to figure out what stem conjugation, if it's first common singular or whatever, what root it comes from, and gloss. All of these are from the same root. They're all from kuf, vav, mem. Okay. So for instance, this first one, kiyamnu. Kiyamnu. I see a middle doubled radical. Okay. That kind of triggers in my mind that it's PL. It looks PL, kiye, kiyamnu. Okay, I'm going to say that it's PL, that this is the suffix conjugation, so it's the past, the perfect. So we've got PL perfect. The new ending is like anachnu, so it's first common plural, and the root is kum, and the gloss in this case, because it's PL, would be we have established or fulfilled, something like that. When we get to the gloss, I'll help you out with the meaning. Okay, so let's throw Jonathan the first one. Oh, this is it's a difficult one. Could be two forms. Are you talking? I can't hear you. Is it just
Is
me?
this Jonathan you wanted?
Hello? Hello, hello?
Oh, there you got it, boy.
Hang on, something's wrong here.
I hear you.
Okay, my headphones aren't working for some reason.
Okay, we hear you now.
All right, so. Oh, wow. I have never seen this root in my life.
Mm,
Is it a hofal?
no, there's no ho. There's no H.
Well, yeah.
Remember we said that kum
Is
occurs
this the
in
same root?
all of the... Look at all these stems that that it appears in.
Oh,
See that one there? Komema.
Hmm.
Komema. This is komem, which is polel, or komam, which is polal.
Oh, yeah. Polale. Polale. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Polales.
I know those are hard.
Well, they don't occur that much, but they're good to know.
Mhm.
So polale, perfect. Third feminine singular from cum.
To restore, right? So this is
Mhm.
she restored, or she rebuilt. All right, because it's from lakum, but it's to make something stand up. But the idea is to make it stand up again. So in the polel form of kum, we have to restore, to cause something to stand up again. The polal form is to be restored, and most of the forms look identical. So that's a frustrating aspect of it. With the hit polel, it means to rise up. Like lakum is to arise, the lit komem is to rise up in rebellion. Okay, so it's an uprising. Hit komemut, uprising. All right. What is this one, John? We got a nice one for you.
comma. Looks like perfect second feminine singular.
But is it kal, piel, pual?
Folks, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, my guess was a call.
Mm-hmm.
So calls perfect second feminine singular.
Not second. Remember, second will end with ta or t.
Oh, right. Okay, so it'd be third feminine
Mhm.
singular.
Yep. From the root
Cum. Cum.
kum, and so the glass would be she
Arose.
arose, or she got up. Yeah. All right, Ward, got another easy one. You're on mute.
I'm going with call, third person masculine from cum, and he arose.
Singular or plural? Yeah,
Singular.
He arose. With both of these, kama and kam, the participle looks the same. So kam and kama, he gets up or he got up. She gets up or got up. Sometimes Some people say that there's a difference in stress here, comma versus comma. Other people say there is no difference. Could be either. All right, hekimu. Hekimu. This has a he prefix, and it's got the e infix, so it looks hifiel, right? It's got a he prefix with an e infix. Okay, it's got a suffix of u, like they did it, so it's third person masculine plural. Hekumu or hekimu, it could be also feminine plural because it's common. Third common plural. Hekimu, they established. They established. If kam is to get up, hekim is to make something stand up. You stand up a building or a foundation or something. You stand something up. You establish it. Okay, hekimu, they established. Okay, John, can you maybe figure this one out?
Chemota.
Can people hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Yep.
Good. All right.
Is it still a hiffle or?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Oh,
So you can see a clue here.
Yes.
You can see a clue there. You know the he field because it's a he prefix with an e infix right there.
so it's imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
Feminine, third person singular. Will be
You would expect a hey on the end if that were the case, right? Ah with hey. This is like a ta. Ta. Akimota. Ta like you. A ta.
so.
Akimota.
I'm a bit mystified in why the vowel after the mem. No,
Mm-hmm. It's an odd thing that we looked at here. Hakim is he established,
yeah.
and she establishes Hikima. Hikima, where you've got that ah. For whatever reason, in the first and second persons, it's normal in the Bible to insert an o. So Hakimoti, I established. Hakimota, you established. Hakimot, like at. Hakimot, you established. Hakimonu, Hakimotem, Hakimoten, and then back to the third person without that O infix. I don't know why it's like that. I just know that I learned it that way, and that's
The way it is.
how you read it.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
So second masculine singular.
Yeah.
The hiffle.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it means you established. All right. Ward, what about this one here?
So I would go with PL,
Mm-hmm.
third person, masculine or feminine, plural,
Mm-hmm.
and from Kum, obviously. And I don't. I can't give.
Think about it when you make a promise and you fulfill it. You make it stand. You fulfill the promise.
So you establish something.
Yeah, you establish
So
your word.
they established.
Mm-hmm. Or fulfilled. Mm-hmm.
Or could you just say they caused to? No, it doesn't work with it. a clause to stand, like their promise, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. Like you don't allow your word to fall. You make it stand up. You fulfill it. Jonathan, what about this one? We lost John here.
Hey, Hakimoti. Yeah, so a Hiffield perfect first common singular from kum. So I fulfill. I fulfilled.
Established.
Yeah.
That is to set up. I set something up or I established it.
So how is the PL and the Hiffield different there?
Good question.
Lekayem has to do with a promise or an obligation. Lakim is anything else that you establish, like you.
Okay.
What's something you would establish? You
Maybe a
establish an
law
organization.
or a treaty.
Maybe, yeah, a covenant. It's not like you fulfilled it, but you set it up. Lakim is to set up.
Okay.
The top here, kuyamu. It's the passive of this one. If kiyamu is they fulfilled, if you have promises that you fulfilled, you would say that your promises were fulfilled. Okay, your promises were fulfilled. That's pual, perfect. Third masculine or third common plural of kum, meaning they were fulfilled. All right, now we're down here at the bottom. Okay, John, I think we're back to you for this one. The meaning of this in the hitpael is to take place. Think of it as something is fulfilled in a sense that you make a plan and the plan comes to fruition. It takes place. A party takes place. Something that you say is going to happen happens.
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to John.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Sorry, were you talking to John or Jonathan?
Yeah.
To you, John.
John, oh, okay. It looks like a hifpael.
What are the indicators?
The yod or the I vowel under the hif, and then the
Okay.
ta. And
So there's that hit prefix, and there's a doubled middle radical, right? Kayem, it's doubled. Hit prefix and doubled middle radical. These are the two indicators of hit pile. Okay, so it's hit pile. Is it perfect or imperfect? Or maybe a participle or something?
No idea.
Okay, what would happen to it?
Participle's a guess because the ending doesn't look like anything to do with a perfect or.
Well, outside of the kal and the nifal, all participles are prefixed with a mem.
Prefix. Okay, so there's no prefix.
Outside of kal and nifal. In the kal there is no prefix, and in nifal there's a prefix nun. But in the PL, pual, hitpael, hifil, and hufal, hit would have to be an infinitive, an imperative, or a perfect. It can't be imperfect because the imperfect is going to be with the prefixes et, yit, hit, and nit. Remember all of the prefixes for the imperfect. It would be most natural to read it as a perfect.
Perfect would be third masculine singular.
Mm-hmm. And probably the subject would be non-personal. It took place. You wouldn't say he took place generally. If you put a lamed prefix onto it, like the infinitive construct, to take place, lit kayem, take place. And if you're telling someone take place, then you say hit kayem. It's an imperative. It's unlikely. It's only likely to be in the third person perfect, because take place as a meaning doesn't really happen with people. Okay, Jonathan, I think we're back to you for this one.
Yeah, comty. Call perfect. First common singular.
Mm-hmm.
I set up, or I established, or nope, I arose. I arose.
I got up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this one here, Ward.
Hekima.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this would be Hiffle because of the hay and the Yod prefix infix.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be perfect.
Yep.
Third person feminine. And so she established.
Yeah, she established. Good. Kiyamti. Say that I made a promise. V'kiyamti et avtacha. I fulfilled my promise. Or kiyamti et chovati. Kiyamti. So this is PL, perfect, first common singular from kum, meaning I kept or I fulfilled. I kept a promise. I fulfilled a promise. Okay. John, we're back to you.
Oh, there's, okay, I couldn't see the word.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a call perfect. Third person plural.
Mm-hmm.
They rose.
Yeah, they arose. They got up. Okay. Jonathan, you got a nice one.
Hit comame. A hit polale, I believe.
Yeah,
Perfect. Hang on. Just a third masculine singular
mm-hmm.
from cum to plan for oneself. Rise up.
To rebel.
Okay.
Rebel or to rise up.
These are very rare roots, Jason.
So what stem is this?
This one is
Or what conjugate?
Itpolel.
So it's
the same thing as a hit pile except for the vowel pattern on it.
hit pile and hit poel. Okay.
Hit polale. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, we say polel because it's got the doubled last radical. Itpolel.
Yeah.
This
And
one
the
here?
vowel.
Yeah. This one here in the bottom right.
Is that me you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yes. Yeah.
Hakim. So this would be Hiffel. It would be a third person masculine singular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he established.
He established. Just like here you had Hikima, she established. Now we have Hakim, he established. Okay, John, this one here. Remember the pattern in the PL is often not PL but PL.
So I'll say it's a PL. Looks like probably perfect third masculine singular.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he caused
Well, in this case, it's like if you have a promise or an obligation.
he established.
He fulfilled, or he kept. He kept his word. He fulfilled his word. Okay, 10. I think we've got that pretty well. That's enough of that. All right, that is really more than enough information on the middle week verbs. You get them really through experience and not through parsing or looking at tables. We didn't really include the imperfect in the parsings, but remember in the kal you have the full root. So the root is kum, you say akum, I will get up. Takum, you will get up. Takumi, you will get up. Yakum, he will get up. Takum. Nakum, we will get up. Takumu. Takomna. Takomna. Yakumu. Okay, that's really the most important one, is the kal imperfect, because it happens more than anything. Remember what happened with, we looked at one that we've seen many times. Hold on. Here, where kum, he will get up. Whenever it becomes vav consecutive, it becomes vayakom, with that O vowel right there. That O vowel represents the U that's dropped out. Okay, vayakom, not vayakam, but vayakom. Vatakom, this is takum, she will get up. Vatakom, she got up. So he died, vayamot, with O, vayamot. Okay, we've seen that many times in our reading, but now we're dealing with this middle week, that the lack of that U vowel that becomes O. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna go into reading Jonah chapter 2. If we get through this, we will have read all of Jonah chapter 2, because it's only 11
And you
verses.
will have done
Jonah
done
is,
as much as second year students at that point. So
yeah,
good
we're
for
gonna
you.
go as far as we can in this, but it's poetry, so we might need to take it kind of slowly. Okay.
Jason,
We can. Mhm.
I'm going to have to depart, as I indicated
Okay.
earlier. So
No problem.
I'll be back next week.
Okay, so when you pick up the recording, just pick up from the reading.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
All right. We'll see you. All right. Let's first read the passage. This is Jonah chapter 2, verse 1. We'll read the passage and then we'll go through and maybe break it apart a little bit, and then we'll go to the next one. So this one, just read along slowly. Vayeman, Adonai, Dag Gadol, Livloa, et Yonah. Vayehi, Yonah, bim'e hadag shlosha yamim. Shlosha yamim ushlosha lelot. Shlosha lelot. Okay, so that's 3 nights, and this is 3 days. Okay, so that's the whole, Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. All right, this word, vayeman. This is a PL verb. I want to switch over to Word, and I'll show you how we got it. And we'll talk a little bit about what it means. We're going to see it twice in this chapter, actually. Okay, so let's put this at 30 points. Okay, there we go. So the PL is this word. It's, sorry, mina. Okay, mina means he appointed. Okay, he appointed, mina. The infinitive is lemanot. Lemanot, to appoint. To appoint. Okay. So how do we get to this form? The form that we saw was vayeman. Vayeman. That's the form that we actually saw. That's the one we want to get to. Okay. So how do we do it? We've got the word mina. We want to go into the future, the imperfect. It is yemane. Yemane. He will appoint. Okay. He will appoint, yemane. When we want to make it vav consecutive, yemane, we put first the vav. Okay, we double the first radical. That's our form. With vav consecutive, with third hey, remember we dropped the hey. Remember at the end? In this case, remember dagesh can't stand at the end of a word, so dagesh is gone. And the nun is now at the end, so it becomes final nun. Okay, vayeman looks very much like what we have. Skinim Levi drops the dagesh in the yod, and then we have the form. Okay? Clear? Vayeman means, and he appointed. Okay? So the subject of this verb, of course, is the Lord. The Lord appointed. Okay? The Lord appointed, Vayeman Adonai, Dag Gadol. The Lord appointed a big fish. Dag is a fish. Gadol is big. Livloa et Jonah, to swallow. To swallow. Bala. Bala, he swallowed. Livloa, to swallow. This is still the word today that we use for swallowing. So if I drink Coke, אני בולע את הקולה, בולע. בולע, swallow. לבלוע. וימן אדוני דג גדול לבלוע את יונה. The Lord appointed a big fish to swallow Jonah. ויהי יונה, ויהי, he was, יונה, במאי הדג. Me'ayim is this word, me'ayim, it means innards. Intestines is what we use it for today, but it means the insides. Me'ayim. The plural, the construct of me'ayim is me'ay. So, vayhi yonah b'me'ay hadag. He was in the insides of the fish. Shlosha yamim u'shlosha lelot. 3 days and 3 nights. Maybe an accusative of time, how long. Is this verse pretty well clear?
It is now.
All right, do you want to read through the verse yourself? Read it out loud for us.
Vayeman Adonai dag gadol livloach et Yonah vayahi Yonah b'me'eh Hagad Shelosha Yamim Ve Ushelosh Leilot.
Lelot. This word lelot is masculine, just like yamim is shlosha yamim. Lelot is also masculine, shlosha lelot. The origin of the word is Lyle. Lyle was that's where the word comes from. Lyle means evening or night. It takes on a longer form by adding an a, so Lyle becomes Lila. And since it ends in an a, they just went ahead and made the plural in ot as well, but it's a masculine word, Leilot. Okay, 3 nights. All right. Jonathan, you want to read this verse maybe and give us some meaning?
Sure. Vayitpalel Yonah el Adonai Elohav Mim'ei Hadaga. Okay, pause, I guess. Unless it's a female fish.
I don't think it has to be female, it's just a longer form.
I was joking.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jonah prayed to Yahweh his God from the innards of the fish.
So me'ayim in this case is me'e, from the insides or from the belly is what they normally say, right? From the belly of the whale. You would think that a whale would have digestive juices that would cause.
I just ate, Jason.
But
cut it out.
Think that. According to Holiday, it is a feminine form. It says feminine of Doug.
But it was just dog earlier.
Yeah, I don't know if we should understand it necessarily as feminine. Hitpalel is from Pei Lamed Lamed. Hitpalel. This is the word for pray. Hitpalel. He will pray. Vayitpalel, and he prayed. When we have from this root, when we want the word for prayer, this is Pei Lamed Lamed. Pei Lamed Lamed is for praying. It's the root that is associated with praying. It is in the hitpael. Okay. When we want the noun prayer, okay, this is the noun for prayer. It has a tav prefix, and the lamed is doubled with dagesh. So the Pei Lamed Lamed, the lamed is doubled with dagesh. So we have Pei Lamed Lamed. And the root is tefillah. Tefillah. This means prayer. Okay, and to pray is hitpalel, where we actually have the doubled lamed clearly written, hitpalel. Okay? Okay. All right, back to it. All right, so he prayed to the Lord his God from the belly of the fish. And he said, right, so we have our vayomer. I'll let you read this word and we'll go over the meaning. Some of the forms that we're going to see here are going to be pretty old. So here we go.
Vayomer karati mitzarah li el Adonai vaya'aneni.
Yeah, vaya'aneni.
Mi betim I have to look at it. Yeah, Sheol.
Sheol. You know the word Sheol?
Yeah, Sheol.
Yeah, Sheol, meaning the grave.
Yeah,
Right? Where,
he was like, Sheol, Sheol.
hmm
um, Shivati.
Shivati. This is a
Shivati.
verb, so it's going to have the accent there. Shivati.
Shivati. Shama. Shamata. Kumli.
Shamata Koli. Okay,
Kol.
so this is
My
a
voice.
really good example of Hebrew poetry and what we see in poetry in Hebrew. We have, I'm going to grab a pen here so we can mark this a little bit. We have this part here. Okay, it expresses an idea of crying out from a hard place. And then this one right here expresses the exact same idea. This one expresses the idea that God answered, or God basically heard your cry. And this one expresses the same thing. So this is parallelism. This is parallel to that, and that's parallel to that. So let's look at the meaning of the specific forms. Okay, so karati means I cried out, likol, to cry. And shivati means I cried out for help. Lishavea, it's the PL form of shua. Shua is a cry for help. And shivati is I cried out for help. I called out for help. Okay, this tells you that he called. This tells you where he calls from. See, from. I cried out from my trouble. Okay, my trouble. Sarali, trouble to me. I have trouble. Okay, so my trouble. I cried out from my trouble to the Lord. Okay, and he answered me. This is vaya'an. Vaya'an, remember vaya'an ane. Vaya'an, he answered. He answered. So vaya'aneni, the any is me. Make sense? He answered me. You see that? So I
So
cried out
the
from,
root is ana.
yes, the root is ana. Okay, it's like every other vav consecutive, where the hey drops off, and you add the yod for the future and the vav, and this becomes final.
Okay.
Vaya'an. And the any means me. Vaya'aneni, he answered me. So I called out to from my trouble to the Lord, and he answered me. Now we go a parallel back to repeating the first idea. From the belly of the grave, the belly of Sheol, I cried out for help. You heard my voice. So here he says, you answered me. He answered me, and here he says, you heard my voice. So you see the parallel, right? I cried out from my trouble to the Lord, and he answered me. From the belly of hell, I cried out for help. You heard my voice. There's a parallel. That's really a good example of how Hebrew poetry works. Hebrew poetry doesn't worry about making things rhyme or meter. It's not about meter. It's about parallelism and setting things up in visual, like there's a picture that one part corresponds to the next and another to the next. And that's how poetry in Hebrew is pretty exciting in that way. Okay, so that's a really good example. All right, next verse. Vatashlicheni alai avaru. Okay. Vatashlicheni. This is actually what happened with Jonah when he was on the ship, that the people threw him. Yatilu oto, remember? Yatilu, they will throw. Vayatilu. Vayatiluhu is the word that we saw. So this, you cast me. Lashlich is hifil. Lehashlich, hishlich. Tashlich. It's the word for casting or throwing. So you cast me. The any is me. You cast me deep, Mitsula. You cast me deep in the heart of the seas. Levav, heart,
Ah,
lev, and yamim, seas. Mitsula is like the deep end of something. We're going to assume that we're missing a lamed prefix here. In poetry, we're often missing prepositions. Vatashlicheni lemitsula. Vatashlicheni mitsula bilevav yamim. You cast me into the deep, in the heart of the sea. V'nahar, nahar we saw with the Egyptian in Egypt with Joseph, where they went to the river, and well, that's with Moses. The river was turned to blood. What do we see in Joseph with the river? Ah, yes. Pharaoh had a dream that the cows came up out of the river. Remember? Mm-hmm. The actual word that they used for river there was Ye'or. Ye'or is the Nile River, specifically. Ye'or is the name of the Nile River. But I'm sure at some point it said Nahal. Nahal is the general word for river. The problem is that Jonah is telling us that he's in the deep, he's in the sea. So how is there a river in the sea? Because Yesoveveni, we're going to see in the next chapter of grammar that this is a geminate verb, because it's samech bet bet, where the last two letters are the same. This is the idea of a round. Okay, round. So Yesoveveni means it surrounded me. Nahar Yesoveveni. A river surrounded me. How can a river surround him? In the
I
middle
have
of the
no
sea?
idea if this is
Water will rush through the ground, and we call it a river. Underwater, it's got the same word, nahal, but it refers to a current.
Thankfully, I have never been caught in a rip current. That sounds terrible. I don't know if I would survive.
I'm quite unstable in my internet here. I'm hearing off and on, but it's pretty exciting. And all of a sudden you're swimming and you just go sideways.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we've got going on here. That he says, you cast me into the depth, or into the deep, in the heart of the seas, and a river surrounded me, meaning a current, that the current carried him away. Very neat. Kol mishbarecha vegalecha alai avaru. What did we say that mishbarecha means? All your... I don't think that I understand how this word is used under the sea, mishbar, because it seems like a wave breaker. You know what I mean? And that seems like an odd thing to have.
Yeah,
under
breakers. Surf or wave breakers, or waves. That's what mine says. Yep.
But how is there a breaker under the sea? Like lishbor galim.
The under the sea is the odd part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it says all your breakers and waves passed over me. Waves is galim. Gal is wave. Galecha, your waves. Alai, upon me or over me. Avaru. This is the historical form where avaru, before the secondary shift. Remember, the secondary shift moves the shift accent over here, and this reduces to shva. So avru. Avru is the normal form for they passed, but in the pause, it becomes avaru. So all your breakers and your waves over me, they passed. It's another idea of the water just coming over him. So the first, he says, he cast him into the deep, in the heart of the sea. And then a river surrounded me, and then all your breakers and waves passed over me. He's using word pictures to show that he is being carried away by the sea. That there's no way that he could survive this, right?
I'm thinking he's in a storm, just getting tossed around.
But underwater. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. This is probably before the fish swallowed him, because like the men picked him up and threw him into the sea, and then the water started rushing over him and he's being carried down, and then he gets swallowed up by the fish. Okay. All right, Jonathan, what do you make of this one?
All right, and after this one, I have to leave. Can everybody hear me? I'm good, right? Okay. Va'ani amarti negrashti meneged einecha ach osif lahabit el hechal kodshecha. What did I say? Einecha, right? And osif and kodshecha.
I'm breaking the text.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Vayomer Amarti. Okay, I'll do it again. Negrashti maneged enecha, ach osif lahabit el hechal kodshecha. All right. So I said, I was driven out from before your eyes.
Okay. Normally, we
Right.
would expect this to be a different stem.
Yep, we would.
We would expect normal out, and so the passive of the peel is gurash. So we would say gurashti.
Mm-hmm.
Gurashti is what we would normally expect. And for whatever reason, instead of gurashti, we see nigrashti. But this has a perfectly natural feeling, nigrashti, but it's just not something we would normally say. It means the same thing. It means I was cast out.
Is that nifl?
This is nifal, yeah. So I said, I was cast out at your eyes, means from in front of your eyes. Okay, I was cast out from in front of your eyes. So we have this idea of eyes and seeing and being cast out. And then the next line flips it around. Ach means but, however, but. It's a strong opposite. Ach. Osif lehabit elechal kodshecha. What does that mean?
Looking at the word. To look, nabat,
So
from nabat.
the idea of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of eyes. Is
I continued to look to your holy temple.
Well, it means I will do it again. I will again.
Oh, I will look. What's continue? I always confuse continue and again. Oh, continue is yasaf, isn't it?
I don't think that. No.
No? Oh, okay.
You're thinking of the root yasaf.
Yes, I
The
am.
root, but it's hifil, hosif. Hosif.
Right.
But it doesn't mean continue. We had to get a different word for continue that we made up in modern Hebrew, or maybe Mishnaic Hebrew, I don't know. But it's the word himshich.
Oh, okay.
Himshich. Because there is no biblical Hebrew word that literally means continue. So himshich is the one that we use today, himshich.
Well,
Is that
do
a
they
biblical word?
sometimes do they translate to do again as continue to do something?
I don't think that leosif is a good word for continue. I think you need to think of it as doing it again.
I know there's something that I'm thinking of, but let's not waste time on that. I need to go. Very good reading today, Ward. Nice job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. You folks have fun finishing it off.
We'll see you
All
later.
right. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So this shows a reversal in this poetic stanza. It's a reversal. In the first one, we see him being cut off. I was cut off from before your eyes. And the second one, but I will again see your holy temple. He is expressing hope for seeing God's temple again. Okay. The next one. Do you want to read this? Read the words.
Efafuni miyam ad nefesh tihom yaso.
Do you remember the word home? Do you remember that from our memorization of Genesis chapter 1?
The deep, or deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we generally in Genesis would say it's the abyss, right? The like deep, unending deep.
Yasuf veni suf ha vush leroshi leroshi. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to admit, haven't kept up on the vocabulary. It's had a lot of new words.
That's okay. It's always going to be the case with poetry that it's going to use a lot of words that are probably older forms, words that are rarer. In this case, he's using a lot of verbs for surrounding. So afafu means encompassed. So afafuni encompassed me, and mime is the subject. Water encompassed me. Ad nefesh. Ad nefesh means basically we see in this book that nefesh, even though it means life, okay, it in many cases means death. Like it means it's going to take my life. Ad nefesh means until the point of me dying, until the point of, it's going to kill me. So water encompassed me ad nefesh until it was taking my life. Okay. Tehom, which is the abyss, yesovaveni. The abyss surrounded me. Okay. So afafuni maim ad nefesh, and it's like gonna kill me. Tehom yesovaveni. The abyss surrounded me. Suf. Okay, suf is the word in the Exodus, where we say that they went to the Dead Sea. They went to Yam Suf. Okay, Yam Suf is the reed sea, the sea of reeds. Suf is like, it's kind of like seaweed, right? But it's weeds, it's plants that are in the water. And chavush, normally la chavush is to like put something on, like you wear something. You can say ani chovesh kova. I put a hat on. I wear a hat. So suf chavush leroshi. That is like, I think the image here is like seaweed wrapping up around his head. Suf chavush leroshi. Roshi is head. My head. Okay. Like my head has reed as something that it's wearing, that it's wrapped up. Kind of an interesting word picture. verse 7. Lekitzvei harim yaradati. Lekitzvei harim yaradati. This is a little bit different from what we normally picture. When we think of mountains, harim, mountains, we think of going up, right? In this, it says, I went down. Okay? This word, kitzveh, it's from the word ketz. Ketz means the ending, end, ketz. Okay. It's weird because I think this is a word that shows that Vav actually had a pronunciation of V very early, because the normal word for the ending, the Kutz is the end, the tip of something. Okay, Kutz. The plural is tzavot. Tzavot. Okay, tzavot with vav. Tzavot. Okay, tzavot, and the construct of tzavot is kitzveh. Kitzveh, but it has vav. So you can have vav or you can have bet on this word, and they both sound the same, which indicates to me like the word gav, back. Gav is back. Gav. Sometimes you have the word gav written with vav in the Bible. So gav and gav are pronounced the same, and kitzveh are pronounced the same. I'm rather certain that that's the case. Let me just check the dictionary. And why that's significant is because most people say that biblical Hebrew had a vav that sounded like a W. Like a lot of people that are purists of the historical pronunciation say that vav was pronounced like a W in the Bible. But I don't know when vav stopped being pronounced as a W, but it was pretty early on, I think. Like I don't think it makes sense to say mitzvah, because mitzvah is the word for a commandment. So yes, it says katzeh is the edge or the end or tip, and tzavot is the plural. Let's see if they have plural construct here. Al katzeh lashon, on the tip of the tongue. Mina katzeh ela katzeh, from one end to the other. That means entirely or radically. It doesn't have the plural with, it doesn't show the plural construct, but it also doesn't have an entry with bet. I really think that that it's the same word. Let me look in Holiday and see what he says. I'm sorry to take the time for this, but it's just interesting because of the consequences we get for the pronunciation of the vav early on as a v. Okay, Holiday says that it comes from the word ketzev, and it means foundations, possibly. He says that it comes from the word shape. I'm not sure. I know we have katsav is like a butcher, like somebody who cuts the meat, he shapes the meat. But I think this means like the ends of the mountains, meaning in this case, not the heights, but the depths. Because when you think about it, a mountain goes up, but you could also go down, all the way down to the base of the mountain. And if you have a mountain that goes into the sea, it goes down under the water. So he's saying, I went down, yaradati, I went down, so the down idea, I went down to the ends of the mountains. That is all the way to the base, to the foundations of the mountains. Mm-hmm.
For some of my reading, I don't know if you can see this. I've been using don't know where the
Yeah.
camera is. This. It's
Mhm.
this here.
Yeah. From Glosa.
Yeah, and how they break it up so that you've got, people kind of the narrative line here, and then you put the bubbles in when people are speaking.
Mhm.
That really has been helpful to help
What
me
does it
learn to
show him
follow.
going down? What does it show him going down when it says "Lekitzvei harim yaradati"?
This they have also their translation is kind of word for wordish, and they say the roots of the mountain. I went down to the roots of the mountains.
Mm. I have a
So
feeling that it's related to Kutz, like the ending, like the end of the mountains, like the end, the lower end.
that would be the root in my mind. Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I see that Gav and Gav are related, and Tzavot and Kitzveh are related. Anyway, Haaretz, okay, the land, the earth. Brichea. Bariach is bars, like brichim. Ba'adi le'olam. Le'olam means it means forever, but in this case it probably doesn't mean forever. Just means that he felt like he was going to stay there
Right.
forever. He felt he was never going to get out. So it's the bars, the earth, its bars, like on me forever, something like that. It's basically he felt like the earth was trapping him, locking him in. Okay. All right. Vata'al. Vata'al is from Ya'ale, go up, but this one is hifil. It means it brought up. Vata'al mishahat hayai Adonai Elohai. Okay, this is vocative. Lord my God, you brought up. You brought up from destruction my life. Okay, you brought my life up from destruction. Makes sense? It's a lot of words, but I went down to the foundations of the mountain. The earth's bars trapped me in forever, but you brought up my life from death, from destruction, O Lord, my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Next, you want to read this one?
Behit tef. Zakarti. Yet vatabo. Ele. Vatavo. Eleha. Eleha. Tefilati.
Oh, look, we just said the word
Tefilati.
tefillah, prayer.
Tefilati.
Yeah, this is my prayer. We just talked about that word a little bit ago.
El Hekol Kam Kum Kodesh Ha Kodesha
Kod Shecha.
Kodesha.
This word is Heichal. Heichal.
Hal.
It normally means a palace, but when it talks about the palace of your holiness, it means your holy temple. Chal can be temple when it talks about God. All right. This is a temporal clause that relates to this verb. And this is the subject of this one. Okay. And this is a restatement. This is a restatement of this. Okay, so this is the structure. Behitatef alai nafshi. Behitatef alai nafshi. Litatef means fainting. So when fainting upon me, my soul, when my soul was about to give out, when my soul was fainting, when I was swooning and about to die, et Adoni zacharti. What does that mean? Et Adoni? Et Adonai zacharti. Et Adonai zacharti.
Zahar. Try to remember that verb.
You just said it.
I.
I remembered.
Oh, okay. I
So,
remember.
yeah.
I remember. I
So-
remembered the Lord. I remembered Adonai.
Yeah. Yeah. So when my soul was fainting, I remembered the Lord. The alai doesn't really need to come out in translation, but when my soul was fainting, I remembered the Lord. Vatavo elecha tfilati. And it
So-
came to you, my prayer. My prayer came to you.
Okay.
And so the elecha, to you, is restated as el echal kochecha, to your holy palace, to your holy sanctuary, your holy temple. So when my soul was fainting within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came to you, to your holy temple, meaning that I directed my prayer to you. Like I sent my prayer, like I felt myself dying, and I remembered the Lord, and I sent a prayer out to him. Okay? And we mentioned the word prayer earlier from hit palel. Remember from verse 1? Verse 1 said vayit palel, and tefillah means prayer. All right. Mishamrim havlei shav, chasdam ya'azovu. The word hevel means vanity, like the book called Kohelet, Ecclesiastes. He says hevel havelim, vanity of vanities. All is vanity, says the preacher, Kohelet. Because hevel means vanity or emptiness or something that is useless. This is a word that is associated with idols. So most of the time when you say havalim, you mean idols, like false gods. Right? So in this case, these are idols of vanity. Like shav is where you have the 10 commandments. You say, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Vain. This is the word shav. So havlei shav means gods of vanity, false gods. Okay, so these are false gods. Havlei shav.
So let me try the first word here. That is the preposition, like keeping. They are keeping.
But it's a PL. But it is a participle. It is a participle, mishamrim, from lishamer. Lishamer. In modern Hebrew, lishamer means to preserve. Preserve. I don't think that's what it means here. I want to look it up real quick. Let's see, in the PL. It says those who revere. Mishamrim havlei shav, those who revere false gods, those who revere idols, those who worship false gods. Okay, they revere idols. Chasdam would mean their faithfulness or their loyalty, and dam is theirs, and chesed is loyalty or faithfulness. Yazovu, those who revere false gods, they leave or they abandon their loyalty. It's like they don't keep faithful. They abandon their loyalty. Those who revere false gods abandon their loyalty. Okay. And next, or those who we could say those who preserve idols, those who keep to them. Okay. Va'ani, what does it say? This is Esbach. Esbach is the future, and Esbecha is like the cohortative future. Let me, or I shall. Let's see. Nadar is vow, to make a promise. And this is what you do whenever you make a promise. You fulfill it, or you pay it. You pay your vow. And this is the word Yeshua. The here is proleptic. It doesn't mean anything. So we can ignore that and say Yeshua, but it actually says Yeshuata. So the hey is there for no reason, according to what I've read. All right, so read that out and we'll translate it. And then we have one more verse, which is the simplest verse in the chapter.
ואני בכל תודה אזבחה לך.
Good, so run that together. Run that together. Ezbechalach.
Ezbechalach. אשר נדרתי אשלתה לתה. I don't know why I got that one. Eshalema. Sometimes.
Again, the here is useless. Ashalem. I will pay. I will pay what I promised. I will pay what I vowed. This is again poetic restatement of this. I will pay what I vowed means I will make sacrifices to you.
Veshuata la Adonai.
Yeah, salvation belongs to the Lord. Notice in all of this entire prayer and all of this entire poem, he did not mention a fish. There was no mention of a fish. He did mention going down to the base of the mountains and being swallowed by water and all of this, but he didn't say, you saved me by sending a fish. It's presumed that the book was written around this poem, that this poem was an older feature, that it was an older piece of literature, if you will, and that the story of Jonah was constructed around the poem. The poem existed, people recited it, they wrote it down and wrote this story around it. And that of course, we talked about last week that the purpose of the story was to confront ethnocentrism, to confront the proud idea that God was on the side of Israel and didn't care about the rest of the world. And so what we see in the story is that Jonah goes to this other country that supposedly God doesn't care about, supposedly an evil country, and God tells Jonah, who are you? Well, look at you telling me that I shouldn't care about these people. I raised this nation up and I took care of them, and I do care. So that's really the thrust of the story. So the beginning, Va'ani, and me and I, for me. Will offer you sacrifice. What I have sworn, I will pay. What I have sworn, I will pay. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Okay? Nice little statement. That's the end of his prayer. He's saying, okay, God delivered me. I promised that I would offer you sacrifice, and I will. All right, and then we get a culmination of the chapter with Vayomer, Adonai, Ladag. Okay, it's kind of odd, but God spoke to the fish. God said to the fish, and we don't see what God said. So we're going to say God spoke to the fish. Vayake, and it vomited. It vomited.
Hmm.
Et Jonah, el hayabasha, to the dry land. Yake, vayake is from lehaki, ki. Okay, lehaki. So heki is he vomited. Heki, that's an I.
Mhm.
Heki. The future yaki. Yaki, he will vomit. When it becomes vav consecutive, instead of yaki, it's yake, vayake. It means throw up, puke, vomit. So God spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto the ground. And that's the end of chapter 2 of Jonah, which means we don't really need to read it for Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we will read chapter 3. That
All
gets us
right.
ahead, maybe gets us into another piece of literature. We'll see what we might read after we're finished with Jonah. Do you have any questions or problems with anything that we went over, or something that you want to maybe fill in a little bit before we let go?
No, this is helpful. I particularly like how you went over the weak verbs at the beginning. I kind of I did read through that, and I think I really liked the first parts of the book. I thought they were very good. But here I get lost. I can't tell what's important and what's not important. There's just too much. So I learned.
Yeah. I tried, this is why I put these two chapters together, because there's so much material presented. And I just figured, if we spend 2.5 weeks going over middle week, we're going to have big headaches. So I agree. I think it's too much information. And really, when you finish a first year grammar, you just kind of have to touch on these things. And they gave us the nifal of middle week verbs, and I've never seen a middle week verb in the nifal. I've never seen that. I feel that I speak Hebrew fluently. I would never use nifal for kum or sim or any other middle week verb. And I just think that it's completely unnecessary. So they gave it way too much information on these, and so that's why I cut it out. And I said, we'll put them together in one meeting. We'll cut out what's unnecessary and just move on.
Great.
So next chapter, we're doing geminates. That's like we just saw the word yisoveveni. We saw that twice in the poem in Jonah, where the water surrounded me. Like Venahar yisoveveni, and a river surrounded me. You'll also notice that in poetry, many times the imperfect is used for a past tense, because they're trying to pull us into the picture. The imperfect is used generally for something that is happening in the future, or something that is like in the process of happening, and so they're trying to pull us into the picture by using the imperfect. Most of our time in the next chapter is going to be spent on that root, on that samich bet bet, because that's really the most important geminate root. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it either. It is what it is. We'll go over the table maybe on page 379 and just look at how they come out, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Then we have first noon, which we've already dealt with. Irregular roots as quickly and lightly as we can. And then we're going to get into just review. We will do the review of the Hebrew Bible, because it's important to actually look at the Hebrew Bible and understand its divisions, understand how the Ktiv Kri works that we talked about before. We're really getting to the point where we're almost finished here with this.
So you had that, I think it's Bible IS, where you could go in and get recordings. And so I went there and got Ruth.
Audio.
Yeah, audio. And so I went there and got Ruth. That was very easy. But I now know that Jonah is somewhere hidden in another book. And I don't know how to find that in the audio recordings.
On Bible IS.
Right.
Let me look real quick. My video is going to pause because I'm going out of the application. Let me see here. Look at my video paused. That's funny. Let's see, Bible IS. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Read it. All right, so there's a button that has like a book with pages that are flipped open. Then you have to choose your Bible. I've got a few of them that I'm using here. Let's see, where's the Hebrew? It's funny, it doesn't show Hebrew.
My point was, though, is I'd like to know more about how the Hebrew Bible is put together so I can find my way around in it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. I found that Old Testament right there. This is odd, I don't see it either. Daniel, Malachi, Lamentations, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Song of Songs, Kohelet, Mishlei, Tehillim, II-Yod, Nehemiah, Ezra, Divrei Yamim, Yeshayahu, Melachim Aleph Bet, Ruth, Shoftim, Yeshua. I don't see Jonah. I don't see it here. It doesn't look like they have it there. That's very odd. So it's not that your eyes weren't working or something. I don't see it either. It's not there.
okay, good.
In our book, in our grammar book, at the end, they have an introduction to the Hebrew Bible on page 419. And they do lay out the divisions of the Bible there, the books of the Bible. But what it shows is the 12 minor prophets. Okay, in the Hebrew Bible, we call what are they called? Like in most Hebrew Bibles, they call them like Tresar or Shtemesrei. I don't remember. I don't remember they use Aramaic. Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. They all are joined together in one book called the 12. So anyway, you can look through that and look at the divisions. I would like to look a little bit at the Cantillation system in the Torah and show you how words are divided, or how verses are divided, and how they're sung. We talked about it a little bit in the last section because of the Ve'ahavta, but we are really, really, really close to finished here.
Very cool. It's been a great course. It's amazing.
I've enjoyed it. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna cut the recording. Goodbye, YouTube. Please subscribe.